mid-1990s, Robert worked as paramedic in a small Texas town and tells the story of a strange happening that he and his partner experienced on a call one night. After receiving a call for a female having chest pains, he and his partner climbed in the ambulance to make their way to the address. We took off code 3, which means using our emergency lights and sirens, Robert recalls. In the absence of GPS back then, Robert says that they relied on maps and mailbox numbers to guide them to the rural location. The address we were going to was a very rural one, says Robert. So there was no street lights, and it was a very dark night, so it was very difficult to read the mailboxes. As they searched for the correct driveway, Robert says he turned off the sirens. After determining they'd found it, they pulled in only to discover they were mistaken. So, we turned off the emergency lights as we backed up to the road and went up the correct driveway, he explains. Upon arriving at the scene, the paramedics realized that they'd been at the exact same address the month prior for a male suffering from cardiac arrest. In typical medical black humor fashion, we mentioned to each other that this was probably the wife who was now having a heart attack and was now going to go join her husband. They jumped from the ambulance, bags in tow, and began treating the woman, who, fortunately, ended up being all right. Robert says he sent his partner to get the stretcher from the ambulance so they could take her to hospital for evaluation. When he returned, he had this strange questioning look on his face. According to Robert, the pair wheeled the patient out to the emergency vehicle, and that's when Robert saw that the ambulance had nearly every light it was equipped with turned on. Strobe lights, floodlights, some interior lights, everything on. After taking the patient to the hospital, Robert asked his partner why he turned on all the lights. He hadn't. In fact, he reminded Robert that they'd shut them all off after going to the wrong address. Neither of us recall activating the emergency lights, strobes, or floodlights when we arrived at the house. There was no real reason to do so. We'd already gotten there. In the end, we wrote it off as her dead husband letting her know that he was still there.